In this video, we're going to break down AWS DataSync and understand when and why you'd actually use it. The goal is to give you a clear, practical picture so next time you see DataSync in a diagram or a real-world challenge, you instantly know what role it plays and when it makes sense to use it. Okay, imagine you're responsible for a massive amount of data sitting outside of AWS. This data might be stored in your on-premises data center, in another cloud provider, or even a different AWS account or region. And now you've decided that you want this data to live in AWS storage services like Amazon S3, EFS, or FSx, so that your applications can access it directly in the cloud. This is exactly where AWS DataSync comes in. DataSync is a managed data transfer service that's designed specifically to move large amounts of data into, out of, or between AWS storage services, very quickly, securely, and with the least manual effort as much as possible. Instead of writing your own scripts, setting up cron jobs, and constantly monitoring the process, you can set up a DataSync task and let AWS handle most of the heavy lifting for you. Let's walk through the main ideas and features one by one. First, DataSync is built for high-volume data transfer. That means if you have terabytes or even hundreds of terabytes of files, DataSync is optimized to move that data over the network efficiently. It uses its own built-in mechanisms to handle parallel transfers, retries, and performance tuning behind the scenes, so you don't have to worry about squeezing every last bit of bandwidth from your link. Second, DataSync automatically encrypts data while it's moving. As your data travels over the network to AWS, it's protected using encryption in transit. This is important for sensitive or critical data because you don't want anyone to be able to read or tamper with it while it's being transferred. With DataSync, the security layer is built in, so you don't need to bolt on your own custom encryption solution just to move the data safely. Next, DataSync supports different types of storage systems. For example, you can use it with NFS shares, which is very common for Linux and Unix environments. You can use it with SMB shares, which are typically used by Windows file servers, and you can also use it with object storage systems. This flexibility means you don't have to change how your source storage is set up. DataSync can usually plug into what you already have and start moving the data out to AWS. Fourth, the pricing model is very straightforward. You pay per gigabyte transferred. There's no need to buy hardware upfront or commit to long-term contracts just to move your data. You simply pay based on the amount of data that actually flows through DataSync. This makes it easy to estimate the cost of migration or ongoing synchronization, and especially if you already know roughly how much data you're dealing with. Now let's look at some of the common use cases. You might have years of files stored on your on-premises NAS or file server, and you've decided to move that workload into AWS. Well, DataSync can continuously scan your source storage, copy the data to S3 or EFS or FSx, and keep things in sync until you're ready to cut over your applications to the cloud. The second use case is replication for disaster recovery. In this scenario, you might keep your primary copy of data in your own data center, but also want a second copy in AWS as well, in case something goes wrong locally or something similar. DataSync can periodically replicate your data into AWS storage, so if your main site experiences a failure, you still have a relatively up-to-date copy of your files in the cloud. The third case is archiving older data to cheaper storage. For example, you might have logs, reports, or compliance records that you rarely access, but you must keep them for several years. With DataSync, you can move this older data into Amazon S3 and then apply lifecycle policies to transition it over to a lower cost storage class, like S3 Glacier. This reduces your cost while still meeting your retention requirements. The fourth use case is hybrid or multi-cloud workflows. In this case, you might need the same dataset available in your local environment or another cloud platform and also inside AWS. DataSync makes it easier to keep a copy of the data in AWS, so your AWS-based applications can read and process it without manually exporting and importing files every time. All right, Now, to help you remember, let's quickly summarize what you should keep in mind. AWS DataSync is a managed service that lets you securely transfer large amount of data to and from AWS storage services such as S3, EFS, and FSx. It supports NFS, SMB, and object storage as source or destination systems, and it's designed to handle large-scale migration and ongoing transfers. It works across on-premises, other cloud platforms, or different AWS accounts or regions. The billing system will bill you per the amount of data that you transfer on DataSync, and some of the real-world common use cases are real data migrations, disaster recovery copies, archiving, and hybrid multi-cloud workflows. All right, thank you everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next video.